Hi there, welcome to Transcona Trailer Sales. Today we'll be walking you through your 2025 Wildwood 28View. We are just going to start off the back of the unit. If you notice up top, you are pre-wired for Furion observation camera. That's just a backup camera that goes back there. If you'd like to get set up with that, you can contact the parts department. You also are pre-mounted for a collapsible Lippert stair system. So it is a stair system that's collapsible that comes on and off in there, on and off of that mount, so you can get up and periodically check all your seals and everything. Again, if you'd like to get set up with that, you can contact the parts department. Then just come into the driver's side of the unit, pulling on that bumper cap, that'll pull right off. Typically that's going to be where you want to put your sewer hose, just because it keeps all the smell out of the unit. We do have a brand new one located inside the front compartment, which is why that is not in here yet, but that's typically where you're going to want to store it, and the cap does just press into place like so. You got your coax cable right in the corner of that slide out. And then about a little more down the unit here, you do have your main 50 amp power supply. You're just taking note of that silver strip there. It lines up with this silver strip on this side. You just line those two up, push it firmly into place, and then an 8th turn locks it in, and then you got that threaded collar to really lock it down. If you follow that cord back, you do have your standard 50 amp plug-in. Now, a lot of campsites may not have a 50 amp service running to them, so we do include this 30 amp dog bone adapter, but because this unit is equipped with 2 air conditioners, if you're on 30 amps of power, you can only run 1 air conditioner at a time, so be mindful of that. And then let's say you have the unit at home, or your campsite only has 15 amp service, we also include that 15 amp park adapter, but on the 15 amp park adapter, it's just your standard household plug, so you won't be running an air conditioner, you'll just really be charging your batteries, running your lights in your fridge. But if you are on that 50 amp service, you can run both air conditioners at the same time. Then you got your little water inlet. On the one side, you got your city water connection. Threaded guard nose in there, turn it on. Pressurizes all those lines without the needing to run your water pump. Then on the other side, you do have your black tank flush. The way that works is reading the caution label. Threaded guard nose in there, turn it on. Always making sure that your sewer is connected and your black valve is open. Failure to do so could cause the tank to burst. Reason being, you're pushing pressure into the tank. If the pressure has nowhere to go, it is going to expand that tank to the point of possible cracking. So just be mindful of that. If you go down below here, you got your 2 low point drains. So using those are a good way to keep that water from going stale or stagnant in the lines in case you're leaving the unit for a while. Or if you're finishing winterizing, I recommend just cracking those guys open and leaving them open. So I'm going to go off of your first sewer outlet here. Taking and twisting that knob off, that is for your washer dryer prep. If you'd like to get set up with that, again, contact the parts department. If you had put a washer dryer in here, you always have to make sure this cap is off whenever you're using the washer, otherwise it does backflow into the unit. And now to the other side, again, you got the same cap. Your sewer hose has those same ears. And then you have quite the operation of valves here. So you got this valve here, which is going to be for your gray tank. That's going to be running off your bathroom sink and your bathroom shower, and it dumps all into here. And then you have the secondary valve, which you would also have to have opened to dump the gray tank. And then below that is going to be that black tank. So that's going to be what you're going to want to empty first. It's going to be your dirtiest water filled from your toilets, and then typically go to your gray. And then last but not least, you do have your galley. That's just for your kitchen sink. Pulling that drains all that. I do recommend draining that last. It's typically going to be your little bit cleaner water. You got your furnace exhaust, so whenever that's running, that it will be blowing out hot air. And then you do have your hot water service port. Flipping that guy open, this is an on-demand hot water system, so it's going to be a little different than your standard water heater because there's no tank, only when it comes to winterization really. So when you winterize it, if you decide to do it yourself, you're not going to turn any bypass valves. You do run antifreeze through this system. Once you're done winterizing the whole unit, just cracking this pressure relief valve, so you're allowing that antifreeze a place to go once it gels up in those cold winter months, and you're good to go. Power switch, that just supplies power to the thermostat that's inside. Around the front of the unit, you got your battery box located right on the front there. Then you do your battery disconnect with it in the on position like it is now. The batteries are connected to the unit. If you were to turn it to the off position, the batteries will become disconnected from the unit. Then up front, you got your 2 20-pound propane tanks. Most of the time, you just loosen off these 2 tabs. You can flip that cap and you can do everything you need to do right from up top here. Just for the purpose of the video, just slide this right off. In the front, you got your regulator. It's also a selector valve, so with it pointing this way, you're obviously drawing off this tank. If you're to point it to the other way, you'd be drawing off that tank. If this tank were to go empty, turn it off, flip it over to the other side, and you can take this one and go get it filled up. Counterclockwise all the way, like any standard barbecue. Opens up the flow of propane to the unit. Tongue jack right up at the front, manual override up top. Now on this side here, you do get your compartment. You got that manual override tool for the tongue jack. You also have a manual override for your electric stabilizer jacks, which I'll go over in a minute. And then you do have that standard starter kit, which comes with that 10-foot sewer hose I already told you about. It also comes with a 15-foot water hose, that 15-amp park adapter, which I told you about, and some other miscellaneous goodies. And then, of course, whenever you're storing stuff in here, always being mindful that you got a couple vents here. You also have the cylinder for your reverse tilt bed. So just being careful when you stack things in around there. You got your front and rear jacks. They are electric. They are stabilizing jacks, not leveling jacks. Keep that in mind. They do operate both the same front and rear. You're just hitting that extend button. You're going to see those feet start making their way to the ground. Sometimes they can make their way to the ground at different times because it's on an open gear system, so just be mindful of that. You're just holding that button down until those feet start contacting the ground. Again, sometimes they contact the ground at different times. Now that we're almost there, what you're going to do is now that both feet are almost at the ground, you're going to hear the motor wind up a little bit, and that's when you're going to let off the button. So you heard that motor wind up, you felt the unit lift up a tiny bit, and that's all you're going to want to do. Don't use them to try and level your unit, as you can break them. And then retracting them is the exact same, just holding and pressing that retract button. They're going to start sucking themselves up. Again, they could go up at different times. But that is all there is to that. You got your main entryway door, which I'll go over in a minute once you get there. Two JBL speakers, and then you do have a pre-mount for if you wanted to put an outside TV here. You got two 110 plugins, as well as a couple coax outlets in case you were putting a TV out here. And then right here near the back, you got your fresh water fill. Taking this cap off, put a garden hose in there throughout boondocking. You don't have water at site. That's what fills your fresh tank, and that's what your water pump draws off of. Right down below is the fresh tank drain. Pulling that white valve would allow all the water that's inside that tank to drain out. Now to the best part. You're just taking that assist handle, pushing up, holding it 90 degrees, and locking it in place. Then open up the door. Then you do get access to the stairs. Notice here on either side of the stairs, you got these tabs that allows you to adjust your legs so you can have nice and level stairs for your campsite needs. You get the stairs, you hold them through your tab, making sure the door's all the way open. You can fold those stairs down. Taking a step on inside, first thing you notice off on your left is going to be that fire extinguisher. It's just like home, pull the pin and shoot. Up on the wall here, you have a few different things. You got the main JBL sound system area. You got Bluetooth on there. You also have USB-C. There's a bunch of different options in there. It does work like any standard Bluetooth speaker, and it's hooked up to both the inside and outside speakers. This switch here turns on all the living space lights, and it's also on a dimmer, so you can go dim and bright. Monitor panel system up at the top. It's going to tell you have two blacks. You do only have one black, and then your gray and your galley, as well as your fresh, and you got the corresponding levels up top. Water pump switch. That's what turns on your water pump, and that's what draws out of your fresh tank. You got some awning lights, and then of course you do have some accent lights. Turning those on turns on some accent lights behind the slide out. You do have your solar controller. There's a bunch of different settings you can go into, but they do get pretty in depth, so I recommend going over the owner's manual for all that. But we do currently have it set up. It's just really a monitor panel system right now, and you're set up for basic charging. And then you got your awning control. Pushing and holding that button down, the awning's going to start making its way out. Unfortunately, due to space, we aren't going to be able to get the awning all the way out, but we'll be able to get it out just enough. Typically, you're going to want to put the awning all the way out until you see the little flap hang down in the back of the metal tube. Sometimes the flap can get stuck, so you have to retract it, put it back out. Now that we're out as much as we can go, You can take any arm front or rear, pull down at the center. It's going to change the pitch of the awning head, allowing water to now run off. Of course, if you like that angle better, you can do the same thing with the rear arm, and it's going to allow for more shade underneath. Just making sure you do push that arm back to straight before you try and bring the awning in. That way you don't run the risk of bending anything. Since we're talking about bending stuff, always keep an eye on wind speeds whenever you have your awning out. It doesn't take much to pick that awning up and possibly rip it off the trailer. So again, you get to about 5 km/h winds, making sure you're keeping an eye on it. Bringing it in is as simple as pushing the in button, making sure it's rolling the right way in, and once the arms contact the side of the trailer, the motor's automatically going to cut out and you're all done. Next, you got your slide out operation switch. Before you ever operate your slide out, always making sure you know what's on either side of the slide, inside and out. Reason I'm saying that is, of course, on the inside, things can shift sometimes during travel, so you want to make sure you're not getting nothing caught in the slide outs causing any damage. And then, of course, making sure you have enough space on the outside to run the slide. When the slide, you push the button down, it's going to start making its way out. Once fully extended, you're going to hear the motors wind up and click. So you got the clicking, you know you're fully extended. Now, I'm going to mention right off the bat, you're going to notice a lot of travel straps throughout the unit. Travel straps are very important. You're always strapping things whenever you're traveling, because like I said, if you weren't to strap the storage, it would swing around while traveling freely and cause quite a bit of damage. So always making sure you do use those travel straps. Taking a step on the bathroom light switches on the left. You got your sink, hot and cold water, basic bathroom. Besides, on the wall, you got your main GFI plug. You got test on the bottom, reset in the middle. If you ever have an outlet that doesn't work, this would be the first place I'd look. And then right beside it is your thermostat for your water heater, Celsius and Fahrenheit by the press of a button, up and down at any time to change your set temperature. You're locked to 50 whenever you disconnect battery power. If you hold it at 50 for 5 seconds, it'll unlock it and you can go up to 55. That's just an added safety feature so kids can't scold their hands. Power button to turn it off. Then we'll go into the bedroom next. Light switch on the wall. You got your standard bedroom, lots of storage space all around, plugins on either side, of course. All the blinds in the unit do it the same way. They just kind of sit and leave them, and one quick pull will allow them to retract back up. And then up on the wall here, you got your versatile bed control. So you got down and of course up. Holding it up is going to make it go up. Holding it down is going to make it go down. You do have 2 thermostats to operate each air conditioner. This front thermostat is just going to control the air conditioner, and the back thermostat is going to control that back air conditioner as well as the furnace. They do both work the same way, just minus the fact of this one, it's going to say it has a heat option, but it's not hooked up to anything. So you push the button once, it illuminates itself. Push it again, you get into your mode selection. So you got off, which is off. You got cool, which is air conditioning. And then you got heat, which fires up the furnace. Or you can go cool plus heat, so it'll decide what it picks based on what you have the room set to and what the room's at. So it'll either kick in the air conditioner or the heater, depending. And then you have cool dry, which is a dehumidifying mode, tries to take as much moisture out of the air as possible. And then if you do just want to move air around with the air conditioner, you can. Pushing the button again will get you into your fan operation. You can go on high or low, full time. Whenever you're just in the cool option, you have two other options for the fan. You got auto, so that turns it into an on-demand system, so it'll kick the fan in and out as needed, depending on what you have the room set to. So once the room hits its set temperature, it'll automatically kick the fan out. The furnace does only have 1 fan speed. You can't change it, it'll run full time, and whenever you turn it off, it runs for an additional 3 minutes just to allow itself to cool down as an added safety feature. TV backer here in case you want to mount the TV in the bedroom. And then you got your main coax outlet, little black button beside, turns on that green light, turns the antenna on the roof. It also improves radio frequency and cell phone frequency, so keep that in mind. Right down below, you got your main fuse and breaker panel, popping it open. Whenever a breaker trips, it'll sit in the middle, so you do just have to turn it off and then back on again to reset it. And you got all your corresponding fuses to the right. Whenever a fuse pops, there'll be a little red indicator light letting you know which one's gone. Popping this guy open. You do got a nice closet space light on its own center push button. And then this is where the washer dryer combo would go in case you wanted to go with it. Again, contact our parts department. They can put together a quote for you to get set up with that. The But that's it for the bedroom. Now we can take a walk into the living space. Living space, again, here's that thermostat that controls the furnace and the front air conditioner, which is the same way as the way I showed you inside the room there. Lots of accent lighting on its own center push button throughout. Because your unit is equipped with propane, you got an LP detector right here near the ground if this guy ever starts going off. You're just getting to worrisome levels inside, so just turn off the main supply propane, open up some windows and vents to ventilate it out. And it is very sensitive to cleaning chemicals too, so if you're cleaning around it and it starts going off, use your best judgment, but typically it's going to be that cleaning chemical. So you got your fridge now, fridge and freezer combo. Controls for both are hooked up to the same switch, just right here. Clockwise all the way is going to get you your coldest option. You got some off-grid rating here. That's just letting you know the most efficient way, efficient setting to have the fridge on if you're running it on 12-volt battery power. You got your charcoal filter to help with fridge odors. We do sell replacement ones here at the shop. Again, contact the parts department. We'll get you set up with that. Then you got your sink with hot and cold water. Nice island space. You're going to notice underneath the island you got your bar stools. Being very mindful, you do have to have that fourth bar stool over here, because if you have it in line with this post, it could contact the post and cause some damage to the chair. So just being mindful of that. Main kind of area here, kitchen area, you got your microwave just like home, storage all around, and then you do come to your stove. Whenever you're running your stove, I recommend running that range hood. That you're evacuating those propane fumes as you're creating them as well as possible. To get the stove to light, you're just pushing the knobs in, turning it over to the high option, hitting the igniter. It did fire right on up today pretty quickly, just because I already had the system running earlier. Typically, if the system was off, it allows air into the lines, so it can take a few minutes to purge everything out. So just be patient with it, but eventually they do fire up. Since we are talking about purging and stuff, if you've had the propane off for a while and you get your campsite, turning it back on, first thing I recommend firing up is the stove, because it's the easiest way to purge all the air out of the lines. So if you go to fire your water heater or your furnace, it's not going to throw any fault codes. Right down below you do have your oven. It operates the same way, pushing the knob in over to the pilot, pushing and holding it in. The oven takes especially long to light just because the gas orifice is so small for the pilot. Again, it can take a few minutes, so you just gotta be patient with it, but eventually it would have just fired up. Storage all around. Little entertainment center, you got your TV that is on a mount here. Take a note again, you got that travel strap so it can't go flying around. Cool little feature here, you're gonna pop these latches off. You got the bottom one and then you got the top one as well. That does open up into a little pantry space. Your TV also plugs in back here with that coax, as well with your fireplace. Always making sure you latch it back down, especially if you're traveling. And then right down below you got your fireplace, power button on the far right, and then you can change between your different flame colors. Right in the middle you got your different rock light colors, and then you do have your heat options. So the first time you hit the second to the left button, it's going to turn on the fan. One more time, you get into low heat, so it's actually going to start putting out heat now. Then you get into high heat, and then it just cycles back to off, and then you got your timer. It goes anywhere from 30 minutes to 9 hours. Now over in this space here, in case you have guests, this does fold out into a bed. And then in this little cubby here, popping this guy open, and to the right of this storage bin, which comes included with the unit, would be your water pump, and that's where you get access to that for winterization. Other than that, that is it for this unit here. If you have any other questions, feel free to give us a call.